Hello and welcome to the Insight Edit. My name is Ryan. I'm one of the filmmakers here at NRG, and today I'm joined with Harry.
Yep.
And we're going to discuss gear and why cameras, the latest tech, the latest equipment isn't necessary for creating videos, films that have true impact.
Yeah, absolutely. People always get very excited about the latest cameras, the most expensive gear, because, it's the big shiny thing behind the lens. You get to see all this great stuff, but actually you can get lost and forget that the main thing is the story and what you're trying to communicate. All of the kit, all of the cameras, it's just a tool to help you do that. And if you don't have the right story and the right idea to start with, you can use the best tools to make something that's not actually that great, or you can use fairly basic but still perfectly capable tools to tell a great story. So
there's definitely a misconception there, isn't there, about having the latest and the greatest stuff. I just want to make it clear, there is definitely a place for the latest and the greatest technology, but there's also a place for the stuff that's inexpensive, the stuff that everyone kind of has access to, the stuff that you don't have to spend thousands and thousands on to go and create something, the projects that you want, right?
Well, yeah, I think it's just about keeping it in proportion, because if you think about the big Hollywood movies and you think, if I want to make something that looks as incredible as that, I need like an Alexa and I need the lenses that they use. But if you think about the budget of those movies, where it's hundreds of millions of pounds, and you compare that to the cost of the camera, right? Even though that camera is so expensive,
it's nothing.
It's a fraction of what they're actually spending on the production.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're making something for a few grand, or even if it's like a little hobby project or whatever it is, whatever scale you're working at, you don't need an Alexa, because suddenly that becomes like 90% of your budget, and it's just daft. So it's about...
And these studios do have the budget for it. That's the thing. They have the access to the best stuff, right? But we don't. Smaller agencies don't. Independent filmmakers, they don't. They have what's in their pockets, and they have a couple of shelves at home or in their kit room for mirrorless cameras or smaller cinema cameras. Some people even just shoot on phones, and that is something that everyone's got, right? Everyone has got one of these.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's so accessible now.
In their pockets, and you and I could go and shoot something this afternoon on this and make it look decent.
Yeah, but the point is, it's not about the camera specifically, because yes, you might not have access to the best kit, but at the end of the day, it's about what you're pointing the camera at, right? Like, it's not about what the camera is, it's about what the camera's recording. And if you've got
100%.
a great story, you can tell that same story using a phone or an Alexa.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, is a great script, great acting,
Great performances.
yeah. That's the core of it. You can add polish and you can make it seem more professional with the best kit, but even then, I would say it's more about the lighting and the locations and the set design than it is the camera. You can take an Alexa and have it in front of a really badly lit scene where they've not really thought about, the props or the design of the room. Or you can take an iPhone and in a great set with great lighting and great acting, and that's going to look much more professional, much better than the Alexa.
And it's much more likely for me to lose interest in something that's shot on an Alexa, but the dialogue's crap, or the set looks crap, or the directing, the story in general is just bad, right? Let's take an example, one that I know that we've both seen recently, 28 years later, shot on an iPhone. They chose to do that. It's not like they didn't have the money. They chose. It was kind of almost a bit like a statement that you can do this. I went into that film thinking, I'm not sure I'm going to like it, just because of, it's just phone footage. You kind of have this stereotype that phone footage just doesn't look good. And I went in and I watched it. I was absolutely blown away.
Absolutely.
And I completely forgot that it was shot on a phone. I lost myself because the performances were so good, because I love the story and I love zombies.
Yeah.
It was just, I completely forgot about what it was actually shot on, because the premise, the writing, was great.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to why did they make the decision to shoot on the phone? Like you said, they had the budget to shoot on anything else. And yeah, okay, it proves you can do it on a phone, but really they made that decision because it creatively added to the story they were telling, right? It's part of a series where the first one they made on these little DV cameras back in the day, and that added to the sense of realism. It made it look like sort of documentary footage. It kind of made it feel like it was part of the real world because it was shot on cameras that people had access to.
Yeah.
And it does the same thing in that film where it's shot on an iPhone and it feels like it's shot on something that you have access to, and so it makes it feel much more real.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason they did it, was to add to the realism and to drive the story that they were trying to tell.
And I think it works so well for horror, the horror genre in general, especially your found footage stuff, where DOPs need something to be shot as if it has been shot by someone off the street, right? These characters that have no filmmaking knowledge, they've just picked up a camera, and the Blair Witch Project, for example, or Wreck. I know we've mentioned the Blair Witch in previous podcasts, but it is such a good example of how you can make it was a revolutionary film. I don't know what the budget was off the top of my head.
It's very
but
small.
It
it's
was
the most
really
profitable
small
film, I think, in relation to the budget that they made of all time. Yeah.
And that was shot nothing like being shot on blockbuster cameras or.
But there is a difference because you've got that category of found footage where it's supposed to look rough and ready, but then you've also got the films like 28 Years Later, where it still feels like a professional polished film. It still feels like it's shot intentionally, but it's just using those lower budget cameras. But that's the important thing, isn't it? Is it's not just about, you can shoot it on an iPhone. So we could go out there now in the garden and start shooting stuff. It's not going to look like 28 Years Later because you can't forget the collaboration of the crew
100%.
That's gone into designing that world, designing the characters, and like we've said, lighting it, and doing all the other professional things and collaborating together to create that cinematic feel.
They don't have the best gear, but these are still people that know what they're doing, right? They know how to shoot things, they know how to write stories, these actors know how to portray these characters, and that's what brings it all together, not the technology that is doing the actual filming.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you bring that down into our world, what we're doing, I mean, that is what clients come to us for. It is it's our results, it's our proven track record of that we do know how to use this kit to tell the stories that you want to tell. So it's not just about let's go and hire the best thing, it's about working together to create the stuff that we create.
So I'll give an example of something that we've shot as a business that's not a Hollywood blockbuster, that doesn't have huge amounts of money, a huge amount of budget. And that's a documentary that we filmed out in Nepal, because I just want to make it, very clear that sometimes the smaller gear, the lighter gear, is the better gear. When I'm out filming a documentary in Nepal, I'm in a rural village filming a school being built. The last thing that I want is a huge cinema camera on my shoulders. We're up at the crack of dawn, we're going to this village, and we're filming for 10, 12 hours every single day, and it is 35, 40 degrees out there. The last thing that I could possibly want is a big cinema camera. I don't want to be carrying that around with me.
Well, that's it. I mean, there is a trade-off, isn't there, with all of that big expensive kit, because, again, the big cinema cameras and stuff, they need the support kit. They need like a 3-person crew to operate it. It really slows you down, and then if you're putting it on camera sliders or, big cranes or whatever, that's then like hours and hours of preparation to get one shot. Well, as if you've just got one person operating one camera, you've got a versatility there which can allow you to
100%.
capture stuff that might be a lot more relevant and in the moment. So it's about choosing the right kit for the job, not necessarily the best camera, because that's a bit of a misnomer, isn't it? The idea of what's the best camera. It's like, well, what's the best camera for what job? It's like asking what's the best tool in the mechanic's bag. It's like, well, you need to know what are they actually trying to do to choose the right camera, because sometimes we have hired the big cinema cameras. We've hired Reds, and we've done shoots with that, but that's because for those jobs we needed those capabilities of that camera to tell that story.
Yeah.
So, for example, when we've done food product shoots and stuff, and we need really high speed, then we need to be able to do slow motion to really show, creative dynamic shots of things moving really, really quickly.
Yeah.
That's when we've said, okay, we actually do need to hire that expensive end kit, because that'll allow us to tell the story that we want to tell.
Yeah.
It's not because oh, we just want to use a red because it's fun.
Because of the name of it.
But it's because we needed that tool to do that job.
Need it,
yeah. And so that's what it comes down to, really.
Yeah.
Is,
and I mean, it applies to. Have you seen The Creator?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they shot that on the same camera that we've got here in our kit
Well, that we're
room.
shooting on this now. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the FX3, the Sony FX3. It's like a £3,000 camera. But The Creator, the budget for that was huge again, and they could have chosen any camera that they wanted in the world, but they chose an FX3 purely because the director and the DOP, they wanted that versatility. They wanted to be able to run around. It's a high action film. It's sci-fi. They needed to be fast and on their feet to keep up with the pace of the actual narrative.
Yeah, and even the mid-tier gear that we're using, it's still really, really good these days.
Yeah.
There's a very small amount of difference, and to be honest, it's less and less these days about picture quality and more about just the ergonomics of actually using the kit and suiting it to the production they're using.
That's actually leads me on nicely to what I was going to mention next, is this equipment is becoming so good now that it kind of just doesn't matter anymore, right? I'd say over the last 10 years, technology has just advanced so much that it's just not important anymore. You don't really need to consider it. We can literally take these cameras here and film whatever we want. There's a use for it in every single situation.
There are differences, but they're very small and specified. Because you could shoot a big feature film on an iPhone or an Alexa, like we've said.
Yeah.
And really, as long as you've got the story and everything down, it's going to feel the same. It's just the specified differences about, do you need the high speed, or do you need the picture quality, or do you need it to be set up to be used by a 3-person crew? Like, ultimately, what we're saying here is it comes down to the story you're telling, and when you're making choices about which kit to use, it's about choosing which piece of kit is going to help you tell the story the best.
And ultimately, clients, prospects, they're coming to us not for our kit. They're not coming to us for our equipment. They're coming to us for our knowledge. They're coming to us for our confidence and our creativity. And that always comes before any choice of equipment that you plan to take.
Absolutely.
That's it for this episode on The Insight Edit. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please give this video a like and share it around. And if you've got any topics that you'd like us to discuss in future episodes, please leave it in the comments section below. Bye for now.